how do you discern and follow your focused dream? I think a lot of people really struggle with that. They're like, I don't know what my thing is, whether it's their purpose or their dream or where to focus. How do you suggest them finding that?
Yeah, I heard this recently and I love that because I think the cool thing is I am a student, as you are, of all this stuff. Like I'm constantly listening and learning to people. And somebody recently said one of the biggest things we misconstrue is we try to chase a passion, but we don't get clear on where the passion comes from. And he said it like this, and it made so much sense. He says, passion comes from curiosity. If I'm curious and I go and seek and I sample stuff, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it sparks this newness and I go chase. And I think what a lot of us are trying to do is like, what should be the passion I chase? And it's like, I go like, what are you curious? When you get up and then your brain is not functioning, what I should do, what do you drift towards besides social media, by the way? Like, what am I drawn to heart-wise? And maybe it's possibly going like, you know what, that book would be really cool to just sit down and write it and get this out of my heart. Or maybe I really have messages to share on social. So I'm gonna do a live stream. I'm gonna do a podcast. Or you know what, maybe I really want to anchor down and have a great relationship with my kid. I missed that connection I had when they were growing up. Whatever I'm curious about what it could be, I think that leads us into that area. And then I think what we do is we cloud that up with going and borrowing the world of like scale of like, how will I be seen? What will it look like by somebody else? And I was like, so I think if we just chase what our current heart's saying, go do this, curiosity creates the passion, I think it clarifies itself. And then the way you test it is you lean in and do that. And if you do it, you come out of that and go, wow. Like here's the thing, if you can do an hour of this, and in the first 10 minutes, you kind of sink into where an hour later you disappear and you pop up like an hour later, go, wow, where'd the time go? Yeah. I think you're onto something. If it's an hour of drudgery, I'm like, I don't want to do this. But if I'm like, hour goes by, I'm like, oh, wow. I think that's where I'm in a space of like, I should stay in this pocket. Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Thanks for your talk. I've never like felt like I've grown so much in one session. Just I don't know what they call it, but you fixed so many problems today. Let's see, my questions are, how do you motivate yourself to be by yourself for so long until you can love on others? Yeah. Just how do you block that time out?
How do you fill your cup?
Yeah.
Fill your cup's an interesting thing, yeah.
Is it 3 years by yourself or?
I don't know if there's a specific time frame first, which should be a good thing for all you guys to know. There's not a bubble of time. Here's what I look at. Love is an interesting thing. It's an emotion. Emotions happen in the back end of actions. And I find that when we're going into the world, like I want this thing, like what we really have to do is give the actions to love ourselves. So when you want to go find the place to get to the internal positive, what I've found is it's going to, how deep and how consistent can you give the actions to where when you look back at the person in the mirror, like you love them. And this is what I found it looks like. Doing hard things. Like there's something specific and beautiful about fitness as this connection to people and self-love. If you want to look at the world, I would probably venture to say a vast high percentage of people that find themselves in a place of I love my humanity, I love who I am. It's the individual that started training and started working out, and not for like a six-pack abs or go on a stage, but just because they know that in the middle of that workout, they didn't want to do the extra 2 sets, but they did them. Right. I didn't want to go to the extra mile, but I did. I wanted to quit at 30 seconds, but I got to a minute. Right. And it sounds arbitrary. It sounds very simple. But when you get done and you look in that mirror, like, I don't care if you might have lost no weight. You like that person more because that person, like you invested as an action into them, and you get this response and feeling of love. Think of it like this. I have kids. A lot of us have kids. When my kid comes out, all they do is poop and cry and eat. They make my life a living hell. It's horrible. My best friend hasn't slept in a year because he has a new baby. And I'm like, how do you have this love for it? Well, because he's giving the actions of love. And if you give the actions of love, you receive the emotion, even if the other entity isn't actually giving it just yet. It's this natural, weird thing that takes place. So the fact that I'm changing diapers and I'm up at 6 in the morning, I have this, like you can feel it. It anchors into your heart of like a love. And so as much as I'm talking about as arbitrary, like child, it's the same for you. You got to do hard things that are past the normal point for yourself, because then you start loving yourself, respecting yourself, and you start showing up for yourself. Now, how long that takes, it's different for everybody. And also, if you get to the point of only focusing on your negatives, it does take a lot longer. So don't look at all the stuff you haven't done, because that's going to always be stuff you haven't done. Start anchoring to the things you have done. Dove did a great study years ago and had two people come into a room and they would describe themselves. And then one person describes that same person. The person who described themselves always saw an ugly picture. The person describing the other person always saw a beautiful picture. Why? Because we're really good at seeing what we're bad at. So if you get to the point of like doing the actions of love yourself, but also like gratitude's huge. I love you for this. Talking to yourself, I love you for this. Put the energy out there, focus it there, and energy flows there. You find you get to that positive bubble. I don't know the time frame. Mimi, I wish I knew I could give you like, hey, go do it for 37 seconds every Wednesday. Doesn't work, but it's going to be a journey for you. But you'll find
I didn't work on projecting good thoughts on others.
Yeah, you can do that. I'm talking about you. Project good thoughts onto you. Like this isn't because you can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't have this in you, it's hard to give to other people. That's how I felt when my marriage was tanking. I couldn't give to my clients because I had no joy in me. But the moment that you can start giving to you unashamed, like cut people out of the world, just because if someone gets mad at you for working on you, they don't deserve you. Let me repeat that. If someone gets mad at you for working on you, they do not deserve you. So
I feel like I'm the female Jim Carrey. I got so many different personalities, and that's what I
you're
can't
human.
stand.
Yeah, you're human. But good question. But spend time on you. You'll find yourself and you love yourself.
Audrey is asking, how do you handle the situation when a friend was part of your dream team, but as you grow, your relationship gets more distant?
Well, first off, you don't have to feel like it's your fault, right? There's always two people in a relationship. It's kind of an interesting thing. And there are people that were part of the thing. And then after a while, I find that relationships oddly do this. Like one person climbs, other person catches up or stays behind. And when you're progressing, there's actually funny. I saw a Snoop Dogg video at one point on this. This is of all people. And he's like, when you're doing well, doing your thing, is like, I love you and I want you to grow here, but I can't come down from where I'm at because you don't want to climb to where I'm at. And that's not a good, bad, right or wrong. Some people just are where they're at. And so you might have people that 100% are part of the dream team. But here's what I tell people is everybody says you're the expectations of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I think you're the you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. But I believe the expectations, I apologize, expectations of those 5 people. Because we just get around people that we have and we like them and they're great. But then we realize that sometimes our expectations for life change. And if their expectations haven't changed, then what happens is I start to elevate and lift and they stay on the ground. Like Brendan, the hot air balloon. I go up and you stay down there. And I love you. I do love you, but I can't stop the climb right now. And so it's fine if your expectations aren't that high. I still love that you are happy where you're at, but I need to go here. And that's not a thing where you have to feel bad or someone should feel bad. It's just a reality of life is we're different humans. And I can love you and still not have to be part of my dream team.
Frenchie's asking, I know you said in friendships that you don't keep score, but what if you have someone in your circle who does? Oh, that's such a good question.
Great one. I don't even know if I have a definitive. I'm going to go off whatever my source is telling me in the back of my brain right now. When you have someone that's keeping score, tell them that you see them keeping score. You don't like it because it causes anxiety. And then if it's going to keep going this way, like we can't do this. Like I can't have you in my life creating anxiety. That's like a real person. You got to be like, look, if you're doing this, you can't be around me like this. Like there are people that I have cut off in life because they're just odd things. And why did this and you did this and I did this. And I'm like, okay. And I just don't talk to them anymore. I don't say much. I just don't respond to messages, or if they do, I'm like, thumbs up. And they feel like, he used to connect a lot. Now he doesn't. There's something off. Now, if at some point they come in and ask, hey, what's going on? I'll clearly tell them. I'm very transparent. I'm communicative, probably over communicative, but I will tell you. And so what ends up happening is now I'm in this conversation, but you've got to say something about what you see, because if not, whatever you don't address will persist, and that becomes your issue because you didn't want to fix it.
Ooh, I love it. You know what I love about that, buddy, is that I think, and I hope it inspires people to know you don't have to keep around bad friends who keep score or make you feel terrible. And I think people do that because they're mortified they'll not make new friends. Yeah. And what I've always found is in the wake of old friends departing, new friends become available. And I think that's so incredibly important. I know a younger part of my life is like, oh my gosh, I have this one friend, but we were like mountain biking friends together. And I thought, gosh, I don't really love this person in my life, but we do this one activity together. And then I won't have someone to go mountain biking at that level. And I thought one day, that's a dumb thing. Because, you know, I bet there's other humans who mountain bike too. I didn't find the 1 out of 7 billion. And I know that's so simplistic, but if you're really stuck on this idea that you can't, you know, end or limit the attention into a friendship, it's usually because you're fearful you won't find something better.
True.
And I think it's really important, especially in a place where someone's keeping score too much. You do what Anthony's talking about, which is, hey, really clearly communicate that. Like, hey, I don't like this. This can't be the way our friendship goes. And if you keep doing it, we just can't keep hanging out. And being really direct about that, because everyone watching this, I want to let you know, you deserve an incredible quality of the friendship circle in your life. Like incredible, not okay, really incredible. And when you have that, you know, your heart is just full. It's a very different experience of life. And
100%.
I don't care if that's 3 people, 10 people, 30 people, 100 people, you know, whatever it ends up being for you, it's a different game-changing experience. Where does direction end and micromanaging begin?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I think that one is you have to have SOPs, right? So direction's going to say, here's where we're going, here's the duties. And I think micromanaging is pretty much the point where like you don't give them the ability to find pride in doing themselves. Like if I've written out specifics of like, here's step 1, 2, 3 through say 17, right? And they're not doing step 15, 16, whatever it is. Like I have to let them get through 17 and then come back, go, hey, you missed 14, 15 here. And then you have a conversation, right? And after a while, like when they do it, you've got to do this thing. And this, I do it with my kids. I need people to have confidence and pride in the fact that they did it. And I can't force pride and confidence on you, which means you can't over celebrate. You can't make them feel like babies. But like when they do it, like notice they did a good job. Like, hey man, great job. Like, and let it go. Don't be like, hey, good job. You got all 17. Well done. You finally got it. Like you can't do that. You know what I mean? So in the beginning, it's like guide, direction, keep discipline, keep the bubble. Hey, you missed this one here, but I know you get it. Hey, it's totally cool. I know you're going to figure it out. And they do it when they finally get it done. Like, hey, I see you. Press on. And they're like, yeah, I feel good. And they keep doing it. And now the thing is, they like that. They feel good about that. And if you did it in a different way of like, oh, well done, all 17, you're a winner today. Like that's just, it's too much and it's too odd. So I think micromanaging goes in a space of if you haven't made it clear of what the actual steps through the SOPs are, then what happens is you kind of have to micromanage because it's not written down. They're going to forget it every time. So first thing for you, put it on paper and then coach to the paper. Here's the steps. Here's the system. Do this. If they don't do it and they can't figure it out, then it's a different conversation. It's not micromanaging. It's like, that's not the person to have on the team. Different kind of structure there. But I think that's where the micromanaging, it becomes less necessary when you have people who are part of the team who feel like they're getting their pride from accomplishing their task and making everything move smooth. So the first person that put their hand up was Carol Frolic Hole.
This is spot on for me. I'm like a monkey and you see the shiny object.
Yeah.
And I've always worked from home for over almost 30 years. So this is not new for me. I start out really well and I'm getting much better at turning off the outside distractions with an autoresponder, or sometimes it's just me hitting my phone. I have already in there, can't talk now and whatever. But there are times when I kind of crave the distraction and I tend to lean in that, like I'm focused, but then I'm exhausted and then I'm like hungry for that phone call to come in because I am a people person. And then I have one major, and I don't want to call her a distraction because she's the love of my life. I'm the full-time caretaker companion for my 94-year-old, very active, healthy, still driving, living independently mother who lives about 2 miles from me. However, she is on technology and she's always having a problem with her computer or with the phone. And I'm the one she calls, and I'm getting much better at, if it's not an emergency, can we do this at another time? However, because she is my mother, or when it's my adult children, you know, those people it's hard for me to turn off from them right at that time. Do you have any suggestions around
100%.
that?
I do. I have a wife, and she sounds like your mother. So this is one of those individual things, and this is great. So a couple of things that I found. There are times my wife isn't awake, and I am. My wife is a night owl. She'll stay up till 1, 2 in the morning. She doesn't like to get up until like 9 or 10. I'm up at 5, 5:30 every day. I get a good solid 3, 4 hours to work on the things I got to work on. However, when she gets up, I actually like spending time with her in the morning. I'm in a good mood. She's in a good mood. And so I get to spend time, like literally we take the kids to school. They get up at 7. I do some work till they're ready to go. 7:50, I get out of the house. I'm back by about 8:15. We hang out for between 30 to 45 minutes. Then I get into my day and I rock and roll. But I've also already got stuff done well before that. So in that window of time, oh, go ahead. You got your thing.
Mine is different. My mother doesn't live with me. And
Oh,
her time,
separate.
no, she lives about
Okay.
2 miles from me. And
Okay.
her time is not my time, her schedule of
Yeah.
getting up. She's having
Perfect.
breakfast when we're having lunch. And
Yeah.
so it can be very erratic. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have gotten much better at not reacting to her reaction to something. And first thing I've learned to say is it urgent? And she knows I'm building my kingdom now.
Yes.
So she respects that. She's my biggest
Good.
hero. So
Good.
I don't have that availability. But what I'm hearing from you is for me to be able to say, Mom, this is a block of time that I am free. If you're free, let's
That's a good
have
way.
that
That's
conversation.
definitely a
And
good way to do it. Yeah. And the thing is, on top of that, even so, it's like if you're, say her lunchtime is that time, you actually do have that window. And because she's not there, you kind of could probably give you an idea somewhat of when she might be awake. So you work at home knowing the phone call probably isn't going to come in during this time frame. It could be 5 in the morning. You may have to adjust to build, right? Make that small sacrifice. And it may mean you have to get up a little bit earlier, adjust the clock. But if you know, like, hey, mom's not calling usually until like 11 o'clock, all right, I'm going to get up and get really good focused work done in this window. Now, my brain's like yours. I do have windows built in of like buffer and breathe work. I got to get up and walk around because if I don't, then my brain, it's more taxing to try and think about having to think. Right. So I want to get up, go around, walk outside, go do stuff and shoot. I'll literally go in the backyard and shoot hoops by myself. I'll just do things because my brain's off. Come back, I'm dialed in again. Right. But you do it first. I think you should find that time when mom's not awake, work at that time when she is awake, have some time with her, give yourself the gift of spending time guilt-free
yes.
time. And then from there, hang out and say, hey, Mom, I'm going to go do some work. I'm going to be available in about 2 hours. Give me 2 hours to work.
And then
go
there's
back.
a part 2 to this. I'm just really quick, and I'm sure
We got to
other
do real
people have
quick.
this.
Yeah.
All right. Technology issues. You're doing it, you're feeling focused, and all of a sudden
Yep.
the computer isn't working right, or that software isn't working right, or the phone isn't working right, and you have a technology glitch. It happens all the time. That's
Yeah.
sucker.
Yeah, that's no fun. So what I would do is I would choose the things that are more reliable, right? If you know Zoom works, like I wouldn't test a whole bunch of new stuff. And then also you make it to a point where like you choose to do things that like if it's a consistent thing in an area, like not even use digital stuff. Like if it's writing, I'm gonna write on a piece of paper. There's actually something called a rocket book. You can write on a piece of paper, take a screenshot, it'll pop in the notes. There's not a matter of having to do much besides just, I gotta take a picture, pop it over, right? It happens. Technology isn't always the funnest, but
What's it called?
it's called Rocket Book.
Okay.
And then also you can hire someone to tech person. So if you're like, hey, can I have you as like when I need you, kind of reach out real quick and have you do some tech stuff, reach out to someone. I have a guy on my team, Andrew, who does that. When things don't want to work and I don't want to fix them, he does because he gets money for it. So that's how it works.
Thank you.
Andrew Schubauer, how are you doing? You're out there getting a run in the woods, my man.
That's right. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. I wish I was out hanging with you right now. My allergies might pick up, but so far I'm good.
Fair enough. So my question to you is actually, I love your resilience. I think it's so important. Being strong is great, but being resilient is way better. But my question is, when you're going through your process, being resilient, showing up consistently, what do you have to say to people when, in relation to authenticity, like what happened if you were doing your 90 second videos and you got to like day 200, and you just felt like this isn't right for me, and you went through the work. It's not fear, it's not anything like that, it's not any specific barrier or unhealthy barrier, but you just find out maybe this isn't right for me. Like at what point do you make that decision?
So I think there's two things.
Maybe change.
Yeah. So there's two things I look at here. Whenever I find that I question if it's right for me, I then immediately go, well, why was I doing it in the first place? Because right and wrong is relative to the place I'm going is the first thing you got to think about. I don't think people think about it. They just do something and they grab habits and do things because so-and-so said I should. And I saw somebody else. So you'll notice when I told you about the videos, I wanted to be able to speak in fluid thought with ums and ahs not be an issue. So whether or not somebody watched did not determine whether it was good or bad. Now, if I'd started that with the goal of having a bunch of views, it would have maybe looked like it was bad. You see what I'm saying? So you got to anchor and say, what is the reason I am starting this in the first place, right? Then what you said, which was good, is if I'm getting to that point of like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, I would ask myself in the moments, like, is that my moment of feeling this? Is this because it's hard or because genuinely I'm not connected to the heart of it anymore? And that's a personal thing because there are things that I'll realize it's just hard, but I want to do it. But then there's things I realize like, you know what? I'm not connected to it. For example, I don't do nightly 90s anymore. I did 1,333 straight days. 333 is a specific special number to my life. But here's what I realized. It wasn't as hard anymore. It was still difficult and, I was still doing it, but it didn't speak to my heart anymore. I'd kind of got what I wanted out of it. And my heart wasn't like, I wasn't lit up doing it. I didn't enjoy what was going on in the background, whatever it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't hurting anybody's life. And some people were sad that I stopped doing them, to be quite honest, but it didn't speak to my heart. And so at that moment, I was like, you know what, if it's not talking to my heart anymore, I'm not going to keep doing it because what it does, it builds resentment for what I'm doing and it builds a little bit of a pain to do it. And now I'm not having the energy I want inside to serve how I want. So first thing is figure out if it's going the place you want. And then that's what determines right or wrong. And then two, check the heart or if it's hard. Cool.
Thank you so much. I knew there was a reason I wanted to ask you that question.
Hey, man. Awesome. I'll see. Hey, now you know, got a little answer. There you go.
How do you handle people on a team who are the diva and making drama?
Yeah. I have had those people. You've had those people, I'm sure, man. It's just the nature of having teams. So one, I have always have done this because you never know. I have private conversations to let them know. I've had this. I had a staff of 19 personal trainers. If you want to talk about divas, imagine the ladies who were rocked out and in shape and like they're the leaders. So I have to have private conversations and I got to anchor them back to the part of the fact that they're part of a team and they affect people. And so when I have those individuals, I need to make them aware of the label on their jar. Not in a way that's deprecating. I don't want to make them feel, but I'm not saying to make them feel bad. You have to show them who they are in comparison to where the ship is going and their role in the ship and what's needed. And so typically I would have the conversation of like, here's the language, here's what I'm hearing. Well, who told you? It's not the case. It's not about who told me, just know what's going on and just aware. But here's the thing. You're not by yourself. We're all a team. I'm going to help you. And then I'm big on getting on. I tell people this, whenever you have those moments and you've told them who they are and they're like, all right, we can be on opposite sides of the table. It's the way I look at a lot of relationship stuff. I can be over here and push the problem to them and say, go solve it and walk away and push it to them. And they can go, it's not my problem and push back and forth and eventually goes away. Or I can walk around the table, get in the same side as them and pull the problem in. I become an ally. I go, great. It's not my problem, but it affects all of us. Let us pull this problem in. How can I help you solve this? What's going on? Like you become a friend, you become a guy, you become an ally, and you'd be surprised that that energy of the diva is coming because of something typically going on inside. It's expressing itself in that manner. If you could find out what it is by working together on it, you find it kind of disappears. And that energy comes out in a more positive connecting way for the team later. Yeah. How are you?
Hi,
Hey.
very good. Hey, Anthony. My name is
Hey.
Jisa. Hi.
Jisa.
So thank you so much. It was amazing. So I started doing Mayweather's boxing. They opened up
Oh, nice.
here since March. So I've been doing March, April, May, and
Good.
I love it. So I just wanted to know how can I optimize it so I can burn the same amount of calories at halftime.
Yeah. So weights, with what you're doing already, because you guys are doing, like my son does boxing stuff. It's fast paced, but it's not a lot of resistance outside of essentially the punching of the bags or body weight.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you can do is you can add weights that'll help you. Like core's going to be big, squats going to be big to stay in your kind of like your toes. Shoulders going to be good areas to train. And the idea is if you lift weights, it'll actually help you build the lean muscle mass, which will help you burn fat at rest, right? But it also is going to force you to do things that are hard workouts that still burn calories, and then the recovery will make you stronger so you can do more in your boxing workouts and in the weights later on. Now, most people go, I don't want to get bulky like a man. Let's just put it this way. There are men who've been lifting weights for 20 years who aren't bulky. And they have testosterone. Ladies, you guys don't have testosterone. So the ability for you to get bulky, like you'd have to put something else in your body that wouldn't be passed by the Olympic committee, we'll call it. And you don't want to do that anyways. So lifting of weights is great. It's also good for bone density and actual like stability of core and body. So when like you slip and fall, you don't get hurt because you have strength, right? But it also helps with bone density. So as we get older, we're not going to worry about slipping and falling and breaking a hip, which can be very detrimental to our health. So those are great reasons to lift weights. And all I would say for you is like, don't go in there and try to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can do what's called compound movements, which are great. Like, you know, if you see the ladies on Instagram, they'll do a lunge with a kettlebell, do a lunge, step up, deadlift, press up in the air. Like there's a compound multi-joint movements. Those are great. It's called functional strength. TRX is a great tool to get because it allows you to do some full, full kinetic chain, they call it, hand to feet movement. But stuff like that is great, great ways to use your muscles to get a higher calorie burn in a lower amount of time that still aids what you're currently doing in boxing.
So do you suggest to do it before or after the 45-minute workout?
Yeah, that's going to be one of those questions that is really dependent upon how you feel. Says everybody's different. Okay. And here's the truth. Your body will adapt whatever you force it to do. So there were times like when I hated eating before practice when I was in the NFL. So some teams that have like meals like hours before. With the Steelers, they forced us to eat the hour before practice because they wanted us to be able to play on a full stomach. Logically, you're like, that would make sense. After a while, we got used to it. The body will adapt what you force it to do. So I would say, but no matter what, it's going to suck because either the second workout will suck to do regardless, but it won't suck forever. So if you lift weights first, go box, the first couple of weeks is going to be hard. After a while, it's normalcy now, right? Or if you box first, lift afterwards, the first couple of weeks is going to be hard, but after a while, body adapts to it. If you can give yourself the right nutrients and then stay in that pocket for a couple of weeks, you'll catch up. You'll be just fine.
And just a follow-up question, because the eating, some people say to eat right after, and some people said don't eat right after. So
yeah, there's a lot of stuff around that. Yeah. To be quite honest, you can do what's called peri-nutrition, eating during. I mean, there's a lot out there, right? Here's what I will say. The body, if you've done like weight training sessions, about that 30 to 45 minute window afterwards, the body's needing to recover pretty quick. You'll feel fatigue, you'll feel drained. It's good to get like nutrients in. Water's big, vitamins, fruit's good, but you do want to get some protein in because what happens, our body can start to like cannibalize. It'll start to eat itself and it won't happen like that. But the idea is like, you want to have something in so when the body's like, hey, I need nutrients to recover right now. Because if I get a cut, blood goes to that area right now and a scab starts building. The body's healing right now, right? So same thing. The muscles are micro tears. So I put stuff into the body, it can start to recover right now.
Got it. Thank you.
My man, John, how are you?
Thank you so much for another fantastic session. Since the day that I met you in Influencer 2019 in San Diego, you've been encouraging me and inspiring me to make shift happen. I'm in a fortunate position where shift has happened. I'm living my life's work. I'm doing my life's work. I do still have goals on the cards to create the online course, to write the book, and also be a great father. So I'm serving these amazing clients around the world. I want to be a great dad. And I've got these, not conflicting priorities, but just loads of priorities. So share a little bit on priorities, on juggling, on serving as the highest and best version of yourself in all of these different areas.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, I have 3 kids. I have a 16-year-old who just got his driver's license, which is a very weird dynamic. I got 11-year-old twins. I have a wife that has multiple businesses that I am like the handyman for. I built this whole studio. Like I'm a super weird. I'll fix your car. I'll build a website. Seriously, it's weird. I'm not even joking. I can install a brand new car stereo in your car right now. It's just weird the things I can do. But I say that because on top of all those, I have a business where I'm writing a book. We have an app coming out. I'm here coaching with you guys. I just got back from T-Mobile last week, streaming to, I think, 80,000 employees they have. I'm doing a lot. However, I got a really great rhythm for it all. I'm very present with my wife. I'm very present with my kids. I have the business running. And here's what I do. I realize that we all have these big eyes. Like think about eating food. There's a big pot of food. What we do is we take all the stuff out of the pot and we put it on our plate. And we say, I got to eat everything on the plate right now. And the truth is you don't have to eat everything on the plate right now. There are certain things that need to go back in the pot, right? So what I look at is, I said, a big overall picture. And those of you guys who may know some of my story, I got to a point where my wife and I got divorced. I had a lot of focus on the professional world and I was doing that thing and I wasn't present as a father. Everything fell apart. I got divorced and I had custody battles. We got all that. And then we're now remarried after 3 years of divorce. We're 4 years deep in an amazing marriage. And the reason it works is because I understand all the things you're talking about. And the way that I do it is I have a very specific process. One, you guys got to get a planner. If you don't have BRENDON's planner, get a high performance planner. I think I have like 3 because every time I see him, he gives me like 5 more. I can't give them away fast enough. But get a planner. Here's the big thing. Don't just get a planner, learn to plan. Like learn how to plan. And here's what I always tell people. It's a simple process. Figure out what are the core projects, John. And then as I look at them, I do what's called a project deconstruction process. I open up the project and say, how many hours is this going to take? And I first do this. I want to take a look if I'm launching a podcast. Okay, how long is it going to take to write the intro, to record the intro, write the outro, record the outro, find the music, make the image. How am I going to launch this thing? What platform is it going to go on? How long is the episode going to take? How long will it take to edit the episodes? I take all these little pieces and go, okay, great. If I want to launch that, it's going to look like, now let's call it a 15-hour project, right? 15 hours. Now, I'm not going to do it in one fell day. I'm not going to do it all in one day, but I take 15 hours, I put it to the side. Okay, great. I want to write a book. Okay, I'm going to write this book. Okay, I want to spend some time thinking about the concepts I want to include, the stories I want to include, how they're going to connect. Okay, then I'm going to set aside time to write, right? That may be a 60-hour project. I just wrote my book and it really was, I think, 65 hours of all of it together. I put it dialed in. And so I was like 65 hours. I had it set for 70. I got it done a little bit early. And then on top of that, I'm like, all right, I want to make this app. All these little pieces, I take them and pull them apart and I look at the hours. Now, John, I go, why am I working in the first place? We're working to be able to spend time with our family, to have freedom, all this stuff. So what I do is I go back to my planner. I quite literally enter into my planner. Okay, great. Here's what I'm going to be morning with the kids. I'm going to take them to school. In my planner, it says, take kids to school, like for a half hour. Then it has like breakfast with my wife. Then I may have dinner at 3 o'clock. Sometimes 4, I cut it off. I am not working. I'm out of the studio. I'm done because I know it's important. Now what I do is based on all the areas of the big rocks, my workouts, my time with family, which really, if you think about it, isn't a ton. Take the kids to school, spend an hour or 2 with my wife, right? Get a workout for 45 minutes. In a regular day, I still got 5 to 6 hours, right? So now what I do is I go back in, I highlight the areas across 4 weeks. I do 4 weeks at a time. And when I eat a week, I lead a week. And every weekend I do another week. So it's always 4 weeks out. And what I do is I say, okay, great. These highlighted spaces, I'm going to now infuse the project. It's going to be hour 1 of 15, 2 of 15, 1 of 65, 2 of 60. And I work it all the way through over 4 weeks. And what happens is now I have it blocked out and I'm very protective of that 4 weeks. There are very few people I let enter into that space of when I've got planned out. If you go to my calendar now, like you can't book me for like 4 weeks because it's blocked out. I won't let you come in because I got to keep this vision. I got to say yes to what I've already said yes to. Because if I say yes to your new thing, I'm saying no to what I already said yes to. Right. So I keep this big boundary. But now what happens is, here's the beautiful part, people. When I get to the point of now I'm working in my day, I'm breathing through the day, I call it. I'm breathing, not breathing, I'm breathing. I'm able to keep my breath. I stay under control and I move. And here's the key piece. When I'm working on project A, let's say I'm working on the book. If I'm working on the book right now, because I know when the book's going to get done, for the most part, I know when every other project is going to get done. I'm not on the book thinking about the app, thinking about the coaching program, thinking about the kid. I'm not thinking about anything else. So I can stay hyper focused and man, I get way more done in less time. Because I can be focused, because I have presence and I have a confidence in knowing everything is where it's supposed to be. Even better, when I shut it down at 3 o'clock, I can be with my family. My coach in college said, be where you are when you are. I'm not in the house thinking about work. I'm with the family because I know that's all set to take care of itself. It's going to be done as long as I show up to my time. And I use my little egg timer that I have here that lets me make sure I'm all dialed in, right? I sit here, I don't move until that thing goes off. When I'm dialed in, I'm dialed. And now I get things done. And all of a sudden, we're rocking and rolling. So I hope that helps you guys get a perspective of like at least how my brain works. I have a lot I want to get done, but some of it's going to start in 6 months. Some will start in a year. I don't got to do it all right now. But here's a cool thing, like folding laundry. When one thing gets done, it creates space for the next thing. And all of a sudden, it's folded and smooth. Cool.
Brilliant. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah. Very welcome. Very welcome.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.